Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land.
Hey.
It is the final video of the day for today.
Yep.
This time it's going to be an I Love This Movie. We're
Wait,
covering...
Are you sure you want to put this in I Love This Movie?
I do.
Oh.
I do.
Okay.
Because of the issues involved and the way that the whole thing was set up.
Yeah.
We are covering, in the time of 2020, amidst
The
all
only movie,
of this violence.
we are the only
riots,
ones that would do this.
We're covering Mississippi Burning. Premiered December 1st, 1988.
December 2nd.
December 2nd, 1988. It stars Gene Hackman and Willem Dafoe and Brad Dourif.
If you know, Willem Dafoe is Green Goblin from the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, which is coming up soon. We're going to be covering 2 movie trilogies soon for I Love This Movie. It's going to be pretty
What else
awesome.
can be said, though? Gene Hackman, another very accomplished, very great actor. He was in the Superman movies, the early 80s Superman movies. He was also in perhaps the greatest sports drama of all time, Hoosiers.
Yeah.
And also, Brad Dourif
is Chucky.
Yeah, he's the voice of Chucky, everybody.
He was also in the game Gun. So, yeah.
And then there's Galen Sarland, who rose to fame and as a member of Hee Haw, and he was also in a bunch of the Ernest movies and was a frequent collaborator with Jim Varney and John Cherry and those guys out of Nashville. So let's get to the story of this movie. It begins with 3 guys, 2 white guys and a black guy.
Hold on. I want to put this disclaimer out. This movie is based on an actual true story. I'm not joking.
It's a fictionalized version.
It's a fictionalized version,
really
but yes, this really did happen. There were 3 men who were trying to get black people the right to vote.
They already had the right to vote, but they were informing them and registering them to vote.
And so the people, the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK, I know a lot of people might not like that name because of what they represent, but the sheriff, the deputy, the Ku Klux Klan, and practically everybody in the law enforcement of the town was involved in this murder, alright? And they killed them in like the most worst possible way.
It was this took place in Mississippi.
Which, if you know Mississippi in the 1960s, which this is where the time period, you would know that. Especially the fact that, I'm not going to say the actual term that they called the black man, but...
No, because we would
get
never say
demonetized.
That, but it's a certain derogatory word that starts with an N. So we'll just leave it at that.
But because of the fact that they had that black man there... in the car, and the fact that they were trying to get black people the right to vote, that's why they kind of tarred them and then feathered them and then shot them point blank in the head. That's the actual story that happened with them.
Yeah, and
then the FBI got involved.
Well, I don't know if there was a tar and feathering, but they did get shot point blank in the head. So getting to the movie, it opens up with the three freedom fighters. They're heading out of state, and well, I guess they're heading back to maybe Meridian or something. But they never make it.
They're heading back to the activist location that they were going to.
Yeah, which is somewhere in Mississippi.
But then they got pulled over by the deputy. Deputy and the sheriff's department, but the sheriff was never involved.
He was too smart.
Too smart. Too smart. Hold on. Too smart.
So they get shot in the head, and that's how the movie begins. And then the FBI gets involved because they hadn't shown up for their hotel at their Freedom Riders base, and so the FBI gets involved, and then they come down to this small town in Mississippi, and they proceed to interview and try to find out what happens, and the more they dig and dig and dig, the more the town pushes back on them. And there's lots of interracial violence towards black people in the movie. There's cross burnings. Yeah. This is kind of difficult, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Also,
if you're uncomfortable with watching imagery like that, you might not want to watch it.
There is there's multiple uses of the N-word in the movie. There's also multiple scenes of African Americans getting hurt. There's multiple.
One
scenes.
of the most important characters in the movie is the wife of the deputy, and she has a very specific line later where she says that hatred is not something that is born in your heart. And that's true. It's not.
Hatred is not something that's born in your heart. It's something that is taught.
And it's learned, and it's all-consuming, and it's unfortunate. And we in no way, shape, or form condone any kind of violence toward any other human being.
No, we don't. But, in the midst of 2020, what's been happening in 2020, you guys... For people living under a rock, just watch the news sometime. But
yeah, the riots and all that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of scenes where the white people who are part of the KKK, they come in and they start bombing stuff.
And they start rioting.
They
and
start
looting.
burning. They start burning down churches.
So they get more and more into it though, and they keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. And the violence keeps happening, and they keep, they keep going after the black people who are willing to testify the KKK. So then they shut their mouths up, but the deputy's wife is the one who eventually lets it all slip. What happened, where the bodies are buried, because yes, in fact, they did die, of course. And so they go after the deputy and whatnot, but they can't get him on murder charges because it's Mississippi, and Mississippi was never going to take those guys to trial.
So they had to get them on a hate charge, which is a federal offense.
Yeah, it's really shocking, though, the portrayals of the characters in this movie. Willem Dafoe comes across as this well-meaning but somewhat naive FBI agent, and Gene Hackman's I want to say he's actually a little bit racist. I do want to say that. His character is in the movie. But he is fighting for the right cause. He just happens to have some evil thoughts. But I think a lot of that is also due to the way he was brought up. Because he mentions a story about how his dad beat up a black man and whatnot in front of him. And
and in the movie, there's a scene in the movie that some people may get uncomfortable with, and it's a scene where they kind of take this African American, they basically burn down his barn and all of his livestock is in there and stuff, and then they basically get a rope. They get a rope in the movie. This happens. They get a rope and they toss it under a tree, and they tie it around, and then they basically hang him.
Yeah,
his son,
they lynch him.
His son testified against them for what he saw happen.
Yeah.
From a different scene in the movie where people basically bombed another building in the African American community, and one of the coolest scenes in the movie was the fact that the FBI kind of took one of the bad guys basically and dropped him off in the African American community, and they're all they're staring at him. He's like, yeah, I better get the heck out of here.
Like we said, it's a tough watch. It is a good watch, though.
Yeah.
The cinematography is top notch. The shooting, the lighting, the writing, the acting, even the score because of the time period and the music. It all fits together to tell this pretty nasty Southern Gothic tale. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's based off of a real life incident.
They take the murders, and they turn it into a Southern Gothic tale that you know, like the movie is rated R for the racial violence, the racial slurs, the multiple F bombs.
But in the end, they do get them on the hate charges,
Yeah.
and the KKK members go to prison, and so then they kind of go their separate ways. We don't really know what happens to these FBI agents after this, but so anyways, for this one, I'm going to say 5 out of 5, guys. Check this one out. We found it on Hulu. It's no longer available, but you
Yeah.
can rent it just about anywhere.
Yeah.
Redbox.
You can rent it for about $3.99. So
It's
not
on
that bad.
Vudu or something like that. So it's a pretty cheap watch.
Yeah.
Once again,
I
I say
suggest-
5 out of 5 for it. What say you?
5 out of 5 as well. I really like the movie. You know, one of the type of movies I would watch actually by myself, because it's just really good. You know, it's like I've been thinking about how, like, they say there's racial injustice in nowadays, and it's like, excuse me, just look at some of the past stuff in 1960s.
Well, there
stuff.
is some racial injustice out there. We've moved and progressed a lot from the lynch mob days. And so I'm going to throw this one out here too. Guys, don't go out and loot and riot. I mean,
Yeah.
you do have a right to protest, but you have
Do
to
it
do that.
peacefully.
You have to do that right, and you have to do it peacefully if things are bothering you.
Yeah, do it
Don't go
peacefully.
out and bother other people as far as
You know,
waking
like-
your neighbors up and stuff like that.
Do it like do it the Martin Luther King Jr. way, because you know he did it peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the march to Washington and the march through Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, so I mean,
So-
there were real life historical events that helped inspire what happened. And by the way, it was based off of a real life incident, as we said, that these kids, they really were just trying to help, and they tragically lost their lives because a bunch of racist scumbags called the KKK. And I just throw that
Yeah.
out there. That's what they are. Everybody knows it. We all know that. So just
Yeah.
get that out there in the open. But we're going to wrap this one up. Once again, check it out.
Oh,
You can-
and if you hate the movie, that's
Yeah.
fine. We're just two idiots with a cell phone camera.
that we are just two idiots with a cell phone camera, and our opinion doesn't matter
Yeah.
at all.
but we have an online show, so that means our opinions do matter.
I guess they do. For the however many people that actually watch us.
Yeah.
If you're entertained just a little bit by our stupidity, we're
Thank you.
grateful.
Thank you.
So,
Anyways,
for all
we're gonna,
of those
we're gonna,
of
we're gonna
you
end this.
who
So,
have been
Dad,
watching,
end
thank
it.
you. Once again, check it out on Vudu, 5 out of 5 stars. Until next time, peace and love from Denny and Son. Bye.
Bye.